Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Now I'm back again with another Tower of God video, and this time I actually want to talk about completing something really important. Now here is something which is really important. Does Fug actually have a chance to achieve their goal? And as it stands in the story right now, they do have a chance. But there is a reason why they absolutely don't really stand a chance. Now, if we consider everything that we've seen so far in the story, Balm is Fug's big ace. Their next best and closest to an ace, as far as I can tell, is Grace Mashaya Lazak. Of course, we don't have a picture of him, so I can't display it. And the next best option that they have, as far as I can tell, is Fenomero Sato, who we don't have a picture of, followed thereafter by White. Now, White is an unbelievably powerful Slayer, right? If you have to rank him, he's most probably placed in the top 50, right? That's how high I'd rank White at full power, and that really makes him dangerous. I'd say he is even more dangerous than Evancal when fully powered up with all of his power. But the thing is that right now we're sitting in the nest and we're about to see a lot of shocking things. Number one, everybody knows Balm and White are about to have a big fight. We're seeing Yama versus Yasracha. We're going to see Calavan versus Liboric, more than likely. We're going to see, Calavan versus Liboric. We're going to see most likely Balm versus Kunmashni. And this just makes it more important to actually explain how the rankers rank up towards each other, especially from what we can tell, especially from the organization who is leading this war. So in terms of Fug's corner, we have someone like White, and White is really powerful, but if we compare him to this guy, he's basically a two-finger pushover for Yurik Mazino, and that is the power of an Irregular. And if you count that as the power level scaling as somebody just needing to use two fingers against you, you're talking about Dragon Ball Z type scaling, which is insane. So nonetheless, that is where Yurik Mazino ranks against someone like White. And if you want to push it even further, Yurik Mazino is most likely just a little bit more powerful than Jaha. They most probably would have a very good fight if the two of them had a 1v1 all out. And thinking about it, we need to really compare their power levels in terms of a reasonable comparison between each of them, right? So let's go with the three who we have here. Karaka is really weak next to the other Slayers, so I'm not going to go for it. And Yasracha and Yama, I'm just going to give an estimate of where they stand, because I actually have a video planned which is going to be all Yasracha and Yama. So that is the reason why they're not part of this, right? So I don't want to ruin my Yasracha versus Yama story and where the power levels and scaling works. I'm planning that video not this week, but sometime in the course of next week. I actually had a lot more planned, but I don't think I'm capable of releasing a full set of videos this week. Okay, so let's go straight into it. So where does White stand in terms of a power level for us to try and get a good reference on his power? I would say he's equal to at least 1 billion individuals in power. That's simply because of the soul level that he can absorb, right? So 1 billion people's power is what he is equal to. And I would say that he is no less than 2% of the total power of the Irregular Yurik Mazino, right? That is full power, fully powered up, all out. And that's how far I'd say he can go, right? 2%. Now, when I make the comparison, it's not just pulling it out of a hat. It's actually pulling it out of the floor of death, the Hell Floor saga, right? If you're thinking about it, when Yurik Mazino took on Karaka, Karaka was quite powerful. And when he powered up, he was still way more powerful, and he thought that he would go straight after Yurik, but he didn't. And the reason was quite simple. He knew Yurik would just floor him over. He needed to be complete before he could even think of trying it. And even then, his chances of beating Yurik Mazino were negligible. He most probably would reach something like 5% of Yurik's power, and that would have been a good enough guess for how powerful he would have been. So nonetheless, let's think about where they are right now. So Calavan and Jinsang Ha are about the same level of strength. And if Calavan versus Jinsang Ha, we know Jinsang Ha has a chance of beating him. If White versus Calavan, we know there's a chance of either one of them winning. So all three are in and around the same class of fighter. I would rank them in and around the top 60 in terms of fighting powers. And I would also put Evan Cal in there at the lower level of the 60s, more towards 52 or 53 in terms of full-scale power when unleashing the beast and everything that she has at her disposal. So that is where I rank each of these crazy individuals. But let's get deeper into the drop-down of why I am phasing out this whole situation. The Irregulars form something unbelievably unstoppable when it comes to the story of the tower. Each of these Irregulars break the bounds of a ranker much earlier than they should. Example, Yurik Mazzino was already powerful enough to stand up to Arie Han when he was on the 100th floor. Bam is most probably capable of standing up to Arie Han right now, but just barely standing up to him for 2 or 3 minutes. And this is the 70th floor. So yeah, he has some progression to go, and if he keeps powering up at the rate he's powering, think about it. When we first start off the story, Bam is a regular person's strength. He instantly powers up on the first floor to the level of a 20th floor member. On the 20th floor, he ties with the ranker. On the 43rd floor, the 44th floor, he beats a ranker, right? So that's just the 2 stages in each 20th of a floor. By the time he reaches the 60th floor, he's more powerful than a ranker. He can match an advanced ranker, and he can stand his ground against a high ranker like Gado. Now that just says a lot about the power scaling. So we have to understand where Bam is in order to understand the power scaling, because he's our best example of power. And by comparison, we need to think about where White, Yurik, and Jahad are. Now obviously I hit the wrong button first, but yeah, let's go through it. So White's power level, if I have to measure it, let's say it is about 1 billion, and he is about 2% of Yurik Mazzino. So Yurik Mazzino at full power would be 1 billion times 50. So that is going to give you 50 billion, right? So that is the estimated power for Yurik Mazzino, and the estimated power for Jahad is going to be in and around the 50 billion mark. Right now, I'm not going to say that Jahad is weaker or stronger. Sorry about that. Is weaker or stronger. I'm just going to say that they should be in and around the same power level. So nothing should be crazily unbalanced between those two. They're monsters of a similar class, so they should be able to fight with each other quite passionately and not really lose out on all that much in terms of a fight. So yeah, that's the reality behind where the power levels are. And if you want to estimate where Bam is in terms of power, well, Bam isn't even at 1 billion, although he has quite a lot of power stacked up within him, about 1 billion souls worth of power, which can catch him up to the power that White has. Hey, wait, I'm making a mistake. There is White on the floor of death who has 1 billion souls worth of power. Right now, I would say White is closer to 3 to 4 billion, right? You know, right now he's quite powerful. He's reaching that 5 to 10% mark of Yurik Mazzino, and I will keep the power scaling just the same for everybody else. So Bam is in and about the range of about 3.5 billion. That's where we saw him when he teleported the cage, about 3.5, maybe 4 billion. And when he goes on to the next part of fighting, I'm going to say that if he manages to beat White, he'll be in and around 9 billion if he takes in White's power, because we know he has a habit of absorbing powers from others. And if White tries to be too cocky against him, there's a strong possibility that he's going to take in White's ability. And I have a feeling that we're going to see Bam do a partial transformation again and move it beyond where he did before. We know he's gone to partial transformation level 2. I'm expecting to see a complete partial transformation in one of his arms, at least, before this arc is over. So we might get to see his sword at full power when he is fighting White. So I'm hoping to see the transformation reach maximum power before the end of the saga. The next thing which is going to be phenomenal to hope for is going to be pulling in a lot of the other power levels to try and compare them. So the reason for comparing the power levels is that this is just an arbitrary figure. I can say it's worth 3 to 4 billion as a roundabout figure, but it doesn't mean that that is what I believe the power levels to be. There is no way that White had a billion power level when he jumped off the train, right? He didn't have a billion worth of power. He most probably had somewhere near half a billion worth of power when he jumped off the train, and that's how come he managed to put up the fight that he did. And for a few seconds he ranged into the 4 to 5 billion mark when he attacked what is the name of that frog? I'm forgetting the name, but nonetheless that's where I'm heading with the powers. So yeah, that is just my way of estimating it. There might be a better way to estimate these powers. I'm not 100% sure, but there is a reason why I'm saying that this is so important. To understand how outranked Pug is against the 10 great family heads, I will say Jihad is about 50 billion, right? Easy, no problem, that is where he is ranked. And the next closest family leader is somewhere in the rank of about 42 to 43 billion. And the lowest rank of all the family leaders should be somewhere in the rank of about 30 to 33 billion. And if you count those as their power levels and we just turn them into single digit numbers, Jihad and Yurik have a power level of 50. Balm and White have power levels of around 3.5 and 4. We're expecting Balm to reach somewhere near 9. We're expecting that the weakest of the family leaders will be about 33, right? And if you put all of that together as a good estimate for what the fights are going to look like, that would mean Evankel plus Balm plus Liboric plus everybody who's over there most probably would only be able to put up a fight against one of the 10 great family heads. And if you count that as Pug, right? Pug most probably only has a maximum power level with Grace Michelle Lazak being added into those ranks of about a power level combined between all of their slayers of about 38 billion, right? 38 power level. That means they were short of their goal if all of them attacked at once. I don't think any one of them outmatches any one of the 10 family heads. Not one of them is powerful enough to even take them on in a 1v1. Let's put Yama for example. Yama and currently Yasracha. I would put Yama on the level of about a 4.5 to 5 billion mark in terms of power. And that would be exactly where I'd put him in terms of absolute power. I would count that out of the 11 seats, most of them when averaged out will give you 4.5 billion, right? I know that makes it sound a little bit heavier than what I'm thinking, but remember 4 seats are empty, right? And that's when you go 7 times 4 and you end up at a very low figure, which is why I'm saying maybe 38 billion for the maximum power of all of Pug put together with just the slayers. Now obviously we've already seen that power level makes a big difference in fights. For example, Evankel versus 2 high rankers or versus an entire squadron. She took out half of that squadron even though there were high rankers facing her. They may have been half or a third of her strength, but it didn't stop her from exposing more damage. Her techniques were too powerful for them to keep up with, and that was just the basis of the story. In terms of Evankel's power, I'd like to say that she and Yama are around the same power, but I'd say that she is either lower or just on par with him, so around a 4.5 billion as well. That makes it quite a powerful bunch for you to go up against in the upper echelon of slayers. The elders are also in the low billions, I'd say about 1 to 2 billion for most of them. Some of them might be more powerful, like a 3.5 or 4.5 or even a 9 billion every once in a while. But yeah, that's where I'd estimate them. So Pug really doesn't have a chance against the family heads. If 2 family heads get together, it's over for Pug. It's 60 billion versus 40 billion. If 3 family heads are there together against Pug, there's not a chance. Pug's greatest hope is Balm right now. If Balm can improve his power to such an extent that by the time he reaches the 100th floor, he is capable of killing a family head, then he would be the first Slayer in Pug to actually have a chance of accomplishing their goals, right? And regardless, there's the immortality contract, which makes all of the others basically impossible to beat them. None of them can beat the remaining family heads when it comes to them because of the immortality contracts. They might be able to fight them and beat them in a fight eventually if they train for long enough and reach a power level, but they'll never be able to kill them. So they'll never be able to complete their goal of being a Slayer. The only person who can is Balm, and that is because of his irregular abilities. Alright, so that's just going to be the basis that I'm dropping here. So Pug really doesn't have even a fathom of a chance against Jahad, right? But let's think about it on a more primordial base and think about another organization who actually does stand a chance. There's a reason why I mentioned Uric Mazzino. Uric Mazzino on his own is capable to match one of the strongest. So if he has to fight the 10 great family heads, it's just going to be 10 others versus him. And he can be matched by Jahad, so it will be a whole different story. We know that Gustang isn't on their side, so you can count it as -1. Who would join the side? We don't know. We don't know if anybody would just jump on Uric's side. But nonetheless, let's think about the rest of Wulayuk Song. We know that one of their members is really, really powerful, and that name is Bakery Yun. He's a wave controller, he's really powerful, he's in the top 20 in the tower. I'd estimate him to have at least a 30 billion power, so a level 30 on that list. So the two of them would be an 80 billion. They could most probably take on 2 family heads at the same time. Considering that it's a fisherman plus a wave controller, it's not the best combination. Obviously, if it was a light bearer and wave controller, it would be the strongest combination of 2. But yeah, basically they can fight a lot of the 10 great family heads, and Uric can kill them as well. He would stand a better chance of this objective of slaying one of them than anybody else. Now, in terms of getting up past the top of the tower, Uric is one of the only people who could help Balm when it comes to that part. So Uric might not be a crucial part of the fight against the families. He might be a crucial part because of the fact that they're going to need his power to help with equalizing, unless the family heads join Balm and, you know, a split in power between them. We never know. It might happen, and that will bring up Pug's power slightly if they had 3 of the 10 great family heads on their side against the remaining 8 that were on that side, and they managed to fight them 1v1s or 2v3s with Balm's assistance as well. Then they could reduce that number and actually end up with a good fight for the end. But I'm really seeing a lot of this coming down to play in the form of power levels, because Balm's power ups are definitely going to be important. He needs to get something like 10 times stronger than he is right now just to start killing 10 family heads, and then he needs to get at least double that power to be able to conquer the tower. So in terms of growth, he has a lot to go. We'll see what he can do against White when the fight starts. I'm hoping that he has some crazy technique that he's been working on all this time that we haven't seen. Maybe Devourer's Soul Shinsu Orb. I would love to see that there. Because remember, one of his powers is Devour. I'd love to see it transmuted into an orb if he has learned to do that thing. It would be incredible to watch it against White. White probably would freak out if he devoured his sword, and then you just see Balm pull out the sword that he has with a family, not a family head, with a branch leader's power in it. Well, that is all I have to say. It's my crazy theory. Catch you all in the next one, and have a good day.